Hello, everyone. This is Derek Kwan, Executive Director at Your Lead Center of Kansas. And this is our very first leadership conversation that is transatlantic because our guest today is joining us from the wonderful, incredible city of Paris. And, you know, the weird thing is that we first encountered each other close to 30 years ago, I think, in the early 1990s, which, yeah. Because we
How can possible?
Yeah, exactly. Look at my white hair. I mean, you know, but we both grew up in California and encountered each other through various situations. But this individual is one of the virtuosic clarinet players of our day, and not only a virtuosic clarinet player, but also a wonderful educator. She was a founding member of the incredible wind quintet, the Imani Winds, who have had a great relationship with the Lead Center over the years. And she's also developed many new ensembles as well, including the Transatlantic Ensemble, the award-winning Transatlantic Ensemble, and also has a great Kansas connection with the professor of clarinet here at KU, Stephanie Zelnick, with the AdZel Duo. So please join me in welcoming, you'll love her, the incredible Mariam Adam. And Mariam, so what time is it in Paris right now?
Right now it is a cool 5 p.m.
A cool 5 p.m. Excellent. You know, it is 10 a.m. at 10 a.m. here in Kansas. But Mariam, so great to welcome you. And man, it's just great to be able to converse with you after many years.
I can't tell you how much of a pleasure it is for me. This is really one of those moments where you are grateful that you have connections like you, and that there were foundational moments back in California that we can refer back to, and all the other professional, you know, crossing of paths that we've had since. I think also you have done incredible work with all the different organizations, and I think I've been a little spot on the globe each time as you passed around. So
you definitely have. I mean, you know, we were just. I was recalling, you know, when I was at Interlochen Center for the Arts, we were fortunate enough to be able to commission a piece by Danilo Perez for the Imani Winds. And then during my times at Jazz at Lincoln Center, a couple of different times, I mean, you've had some incredible collaborations with, you know, some of the really the iconic jazz musicians of the day, including, you know, Chick Corea, Wayne Shorter, oh my gosh, Paquito de Rivera. I mean, it's just, I mean, you've done so much. It's really incredible.
Well, thank you. And, you know, just last night, I was thinking about these collaborations with Chick Corea and things that I did with Imani Winds, but also other projects that I pursued on my own with Chick Corea and Wayne Shorter and Paquito de Rivera, just keeping them in dialogue with ideas that I had and needs that I felt the industry needed, our repertoire, especially as a clarinets. The clarinets are always searching for something, and I have always been so grateful that I was able to establish those friendships with these guys and then kind of pillage their music. Take, you know, things and bring it here in Paris. I have to say, just to start from this side of the globe, it's been very interesting to see what is known here and what's not known. And there's a lot of music in the States on the classical, contemporary, crossover, you know, jazz genres that are not known here at all. And they're definitely doing their own virtuosic, incredible work here. But you try to introduce some composers and it's just kind of like this, you know, wall of who?
Interesting.
Yeah.
So can we take a little step back, and first of all, what brought you to Paris? I mean, do you mind sharing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I kind of never made the big announcement, and then a lot of people were just like, what? So it's kind of threefold. So I was with Imani Winds for 18 years, right? And we did incredible work. And then we started to finally tour in Europe. And that was something that I really wanted us to do from a very, not even an early stage, but just kind of halfway in our career. I said, people want to hear what we're doing. They need to hear this music, and we have a duty to, you know, expand the repertoire. So we started coming here, and through our management, I was able to listen and meet other musicians in France.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to collaborate with them, incredible musicians like Eric Lesage, pianist, and François Salk. And then I kind of started realizing that there was a lot of my musicianship that I wanted to refine still. And it had to do with the classical side and also being as much of a pioneer as I could to bring music over. And then more and more collaborations started happening. I was already working with my transatlantic ensemble, who was half based in Berlin. And that all of a sudden made it easier when I was on this side of the pond to start doing more collaborations. And it was not an easy decision. I think leaving Imani Winds, it was almost like breaking up, you know, with the family, breaking up.
Yeah.
And, you know, breaking up is never easy. And to say that I wanted to evolve more, you know, as an individual and as a chamber musician, I think they understood that, and you know, it took a second to finally part the ways, but you know, everyone is happy. I mean, Valerie even left the group, and you know, everyone felt that there was sometimes just a need to go on. However, I will say this: Imani Wins, we always said that we were like Imani Wins for life. We
for life. Yeah.
And it was like we do gang signs. It's like IW. Imani Wins for life.
I love it. I love it.
So yeah, and then you know, I met my partner, who is French, and it was also, you know, part of our management team, and that kind of allowed me to feel like I had a base to arrive to when I got here. And the transition was kind of smooth just because I was already doing a lot of things here in Europe, and then I started a family here, and you know,
so cool.
Just said, okay, now or never. But the irony is that since I've moved here, because I was never available to do a lot of freelance stuff in the States, because of Imani Win's tour schedule and my other solo stuff on top of it, I all of a sudden found myself going back to the States and doing more projects, even more. So I go back and forth a lot. Not so much this year, but.
Right. Well, first of all, I mean, congratulations for, you know, for the courage that it took to evolve, to follow your heart and really evolve, because, you know, that's certainly, like you said, it's like breaking up with your family, breaking up with a significant other, or multiple significant others, you know, simultaneously, you know, with a quartet. So that takes an immense amount of courage. So kudos to you for doing that. And I recognize that it's much easier said than done. And it's just so cool that you're able to bring this new perspective to Paris, which is you know, one of the music capitals of the world. And that leads me to, I think, another topic, I guess, is that, you know, now with all of the social issues that are surrounding us in the current day, you know, there's been even a larger spotlight put on you know, diversity in classical music, and just how, I guess, the system has been, you know, just the same for forever. But now what's great is that there is a new, fresh look being taken at that topic. And honestly, if it weren't for the work that you've done with Imani Winds, and then also the work you've done on your own, I think that, you know, we would be so far behind already. But we, don't get me wrong, we still are very far behind. But that you've done over the last, you know, 20, 30 years is incredible in just pushing that movement forward in a very positive way. So kudos to you for that.
Well, thank you very much. Honestly, Derek, thank you, because I feel that there's a lot of new approach to this because of what's happened this year, and because people are finally open to the dialogue, this discussion. Yes. But then I part of me wants to say, you know, there have been people trying to talk about this in a very gentle way, but also in a confident and positive way, as you said. And it's not like out of sight, out of mind, but it is for some
no, you're right.
People. And I think that Imani Winds has had it's been able to do a little bit of continuity with the festival that we started.
Yes.
And the students that come to that are definitely open-minded, and a lot of them are people that we met when they were young at school because of an outreach that we did, perhaps, and that they finally saw somebody that looked like them and they wanted to be encouraged to think outside the box. And we have been able to see that kind of full circle. But the dialogue happening right now, it's not just, before we talked a lot about encouraging students to continue with music beyond high school, right? Because there's that gap that happens with high school and college, and you can go into the litany of reasons of, you know, the economics and everything. So there's that, but then, you know, now it's not just from the organizer side, right? There's presenters that have responsibility to bring in this diversity. And a lot of times there's that fear of the public not being open, being afraid. And I can't tell you how many times we were on the road that an audience member came to us and said, oh, I really was not looking forward to this. My husband dragged me to this concert. And then they were so happy that they did.
Yeah.
Or they said, we absolutely trust everything our presenter chooses. We'll come to everything because we know they do the choosing. So there's that. But then now we're talking about the orchestral side of lack of diversity, the blind audition process, and then also the scholarship process, and how students are able to see themselves in a professional music situation. I will say that in the States, you guys very much are more advanced. You know, there's much more of an open dialogue, and there's been more a visual mixing now, not at the professional level, but at least at the college level of what I've seen going around giving master classes. And they're still behind here in Europe. They're still behind. The work that I'm doing with Cité Orchestra, which I can tell you a little more about, they are at the forefront of this and fighting the good fight, and, you know, kind of standing on any soapbox available to talk about the need to envision diversity in the arts at a high level.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about your work with Cité. That'd be awesome. Great segue, by the way, Mariam.
So Chichi Nwaniku actually approached me. She's the founder of Cité. And she actually wrote to me. I'd like to tell this little anecdote because she wrote to me probably 6 years ago, and Cité started about 5 years ago. I thought she was like an 18-year-old enthusiastic undergrad student, you know, who said, "Hi, I want to start, you know, Black and Brown orchestra in London, and I want to talk to you about your work because you've done a lot of work with this." And I remember I had just come back from Europe to New York, and I said, "Oh, you're so sweet." You know, how sweet is this email, but I'll love to talk to you when I'm back in Europe. It'll be easier, and I'll reach out to you again. Well, little did I know that this woman, you know, she's almost 60 years old. She's one of the preeminent double bass players in London. And then she went on to, through a series of very interesting, you know, borderline racist moments at an event, found out that there really wasn't anybody of color at the professional level. And she is a mixed race, but, you know, she identifies also, you know, as a Black woman, and just always had to kind of be just quiet about it in her professional level. Anyways, she started the Cité Orchestra about a year later, got support from all kinds of organizations at the government level and private level, and never thought that it would go really beyond the first concert. I was not able to do the first concert. I was not in town, but I ended up doing the second concert, and then I've pretty much done everything I'm available for since. So I've done a lot of the chamber music and kind of like the orchestral stuff, and they do a lot of projects with DJs and dancers and video and film. But the recognition that she's gotten through all of her speeches, through the awards that she's received, has really catapulted the orchestra to a level of respect. There's a residency at the South Bank Center in London, which is one of the major performing arts centers. And also regular invitations to the BBC radio and the proms. I mean, this summer we were supposed to do Beethoven 9 with Simon Rattle.
Wow.
At the BBC proms, you know, and it's because each project has been exponentially better. You know, there's just always an incredible mix. Now, the orchestra itself comes from professionals that come from all over Europe. So you've got like the principal horn of the Brussels Philharmonic, and, you know, Vienna star violinist, and are all, it's the most beautiful orchestra you've ever seen.
I bet.
There's a lot of rotation of people because the people aren't always available. It's not a steady schedule, but it's what, it's black, brown, yellow, red, white. I mean, it's not just, people of African or Asian heritage. It's
Right.
It's quite diverse. So
I love it.
The place now, and people really throughout Europe, but especially in the UK, know who this woman is. They know who Chichi is. They know what Chineke does. It's gotten that much recognition, and that's what you need right now, right? You need you need the product, you need the mission statement and the momentum behind it. And I think even the States could use a professional orchestra like this.
It really could, and the wonderful aspect of Chineke, the recordings I've heard and seen on YouTube. I did see the South Bank, a couple of the South Bank performances on YouTube. The level and quality of playing is unquestionable. It is so you cannot deny the virtuosity of the ensemble, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, and there's some critics out there that might try and pick things apart, but you can't question the musicianship of the ensemble. I mean, it's like, and not only that, it's got that passion, that energy that can't be created unless you bring in folks from all these different diverse backgrounds together. So it's
that's exactly it. And that who also believe in this mission.
Yes.
And I'm so happy to see, I mean, we call it's a family,
Yeah.
There's a large but core ensemble of people that when we see each other, everybody supports each other's projects. When we do the chamber music, this is the most, for me, it's still my passion. Chamber music is
yeah.
But there was one Wigmore Hall concert that we did with every single person on that stage was a star in their own right. Yes. And I told the audience, I said, yes, we are the Chineke Ensemble. There's a reason why we got together, but go Google each and every one of these people. You will spiral onto a new path of discovery and appreciation.
Man, I love it. I love it so much. And you're absolutely right that I was thinking about Imani's too, in terms of now that you've evolved, Valerie's evolved. I mean, everybody is doing such incredible work, and it's unquestionable. You cannot be undisputed, the level of musicianship. You put the Imani winds up against any quintet in the world, and it's right at the top. And same with Chineke. You put it up against all the ensemble, the chamber ensembles as well as the orchestra. It's undisputable that these ensembles belong more than ever, especially right now. So kudos to you for being part of these really pioneering projects, both in the United States and in Europe. I mean, that must feel very gratifying.
It is, and the irony is that there's still a level of frustration.
Oh yeah.
How many even of these Zoom discussions when the whole Black Lives Matter erupted earlier this year, there was a lot of anger. Especially over here, there was a lot of anger, there was frustration and confusion at how one should proceed, because there's only so much you can do by social media. Everyone can get loud, but it's just like, do you hear the sound of a tree dropping if there's nobody in the forest? There's kind of this silence still that social media can't penetrate. Mm-hmm. So I found myself kind of being in this role also of mediating some discussions here that would address the anger, the frustration, but also focus on the work that is being done. And especially with the younger generation, the Chineke has a youth orchestra that is doing quite well. I mean, they're on Britain's Got Talent, they're trying to carve out their own path too. And there's a lot of positive work that's being done, but we can't ever forget that it's also propelling people into positions of leadership. Yes. Where they can make decisions, where they can make change at the top level, that we still need people in that in those categories to help this change happen.
The way I look at that, paralleled is if you look at professional sports in the United States, you have even though in the NFL and the NBA you have a representative diversity amongst the players. If you look at management level, leadership level, from the power structure, you do not have that representation at all. You do not. And even the NFL has put in this Rooney Rule to at least have one interview of a person who is traditionally marginalized community. But that doesn't. I mean, that still hasn't worked. It hasn't worked at all.
No, but it's training. It's formation and training. If you don't have a mentorship, and you don't have the training and the education, to guide somebody into that path, it's not going to happen. I think one thing Imani Wins was able to do early on was career seminars.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Doing career seminars really early on, even at the APAP, Arts Presenters Organization. They have a young leadership program that's been around for, probably almost 20 years now. But, being able to articulate to a student or to somebody that maybe you don't want to be a performer. Maybe you don't want to necessarily deal with the pressure of performing and all they're in, but you want to stay in the arts and you're really good at organizing, or you're really good at having marketing ideas, or you're really good at bringing people together, or you're really good at finding funding. There's roles for people. So we've always encouraged early on.
Yeah.
When you talk about it here, I've been doing work with the Paris Conservatory.
Yes.
And they're just starting to have this conversation. They're like, these students come out, they don't know what to do with their career. They just think it's all going to happen, and I'm just like, well, have you not had, business class, or there's like no career seminars? And they're like, well,
right. That's a funny, that's not funny. It's not funny, but it's not funny at all. But I've been teaching an arts management class here at KU for the last 4 years.
Excellent.
And so, we've even come along, in some ways, in a traditionally, state music school, and that's, the music department, music school here does recognize that, absolutely, this kind of training is needed, but especially, for folks from all backgrounds. And I want to say, I was so lucky to work for Jazz and Lincoln Center on 2 occasions, because that is one organization where you did see representation, absolutely, at all levels of administration, and also on the artistic side as well, of course. But that was on the administrative side. That's where you typically would not see any, representation. And I was so lucky to be one of those kids that, got to experience some things and gained incredible experience through that organization. So
I think the jazz world in general has seen much more diversity at the artistic director level, at least, than other genres of music, just because of the nature of the players and the history of, where it came from and the kind of hierarchy since then. But it hasn't spread to other genres, and it's a work in progress. But again, people have to see themselves in that position. They have to want to be in that position. And thus far, there's just kind of been not even a glass ceiling. It's just kind of like a globe that you live within, because you may not have role models. You just don't see it. But I think it's slowly happening. And even of our generation, I'll say.
Yes.
It's been nice to see people like Stefan Harris is now jazz at Manhattan School, and Jason Moran takes the artistic director position, and Danilo Perez is ambassador to Panama. And I think they've embraced, at least again in the jazz world, the need for leadership much earlier on than in some of the classical circles.
In similar to what you're saying in the classical circles, the performing arts center world is very, very, very similar to the classical world. So, in terms of leadership at performing arts centers, it's just as rare to see. Like in your 18 years with Imani, and then when you're touring, as a soloist right now, like when you look at presenters, what you don't need to say anything. So it's really fascinating, but it's being recognized, at least right now. That at least is being recognized. So.
Yeah. And what's I found here in France, which has been interesting to me, is that it's much easier to have like, I say easier, it's possible to have a little festival in your own hometown village or your parents' second home, you know, country house village where there's a little church, and you'll get government funding a little easier, right? And so there's a lot of musicians that, you know, they're not necessarily diverse in that sense, but they are able to take on that artistic leadership position and then
That's great.
make decisions for the industry, right? You're making decisions for the public, you're making decisions for the audiences that will then, you know, cultivate the next generation of audiences and keep live music relevant, because you know, that's a whole other subject.
Right.
Keep live music, especially this year, important and relevant, as opposed to movie theaters and airplanes, where gatherings happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've seen that here, and it's a little more encouraging to want to take that notion back and kind of demand it out of certain communities where it's possible.
Definitely. So Mariam, as we wind up this conversation, I'd love for you to be able to tell us some about your current projects that you have going on right now. You mentioned very briefly before we started the interview a new project that you have, but I'd love to hear all of the interesting ensembles that you're part of, in addition to Chineke.
So yes, Chineke is one that kind of keeps my, you know, life going, and it's been interesting to also get back into the orchestra world. I hadn't played orchestra since you and I, no. I played orchestra in California, probably. No, it's a little more than that. But so I have a couple ensembles that I play with here. One of them that I started a few years ago, and it's changed members, but it's called the Circle. And the idea is that it's a formation of violin, cello, piano, and clarinet. And then we do variations of works with those instruments. And so we've championed some works by Israeli composers, and then of course Messiaen Quartet for the End of Time and Mio and things that are a little more standard. And so we do that as much as our allows. Through the violinist of that project, we also did Stravinsky's Soldier's Tale.
Nice.
With dancer and actor, and did a whole kind of chamber ensemble plus about a handful of actors and a narrator.
Very cool.
Who, and that's going to be, I think, available on YouTube soon. So that was a lot of fun, and that will continue to tour. I also have this project, which is interesting for the classical music world. Is called I Don't Like Classical Music, but with Gaspard Proust, I love it. And it's a little bit cheesy, and it was Sony Productions that, you know, came up with it because he kind of hates it. But it's Gaspard Proust is this very intelligent kind of satirist, kind of a mix of George Carlin and Stephen Colbert or something.
Oh, I'm there then.
Yeah, he's whip smart, and he's passionate about classical music. And so we did this show that would fill stadiums because they, you know, they want to see him and what he has to say, and then what he has to say about classical music. And so that we have about 6 musicians that get that torn in. We do arrangements of big orchestral works, and then also just selections of standard chamber music works. And they're fantastic musicians here in France. And so we've done that. I think we're in the 4th year of touring that.
Cool.
And then I started a online festival with my clarinet duo, the AdZel Duo.
Yes.
We were able to do an incredible commission last year of double concerto, and we have another double concerto in the works. And so we kind of keep, we had a big tour scheduled this spring. So, you know, it's kind of like when the cat is gone, the mice will play. So we're like, oh, well, this is a chance to do our festival. So we did an online festival, and we had wonderful turnout of students, and David Krakauer and Ricardo Morales who came, and the next, you know, slot we'll be able to get some other great musicians to come in and talk to clarinetists and, you know, do a little bit of career clarinet nerd stuff.
I love it.
And then I have commissions with Thierry Sketch, who is an incredible composer here, who I wish was known more in the States. He's just a fascinating organist, first of all, and then has written incredible works for all types of chamber ensembles and especially the winds. I like his wind playing. And then, yeah, I started a YouTube channel, not realizing how much time it takes to upload all these videos. I've been a little slow on getting the last few, but during the confinement, I was like, oh, I can, upload all these videos. And in a house with kids, and internet is just being like disappearing. The Wi-Fi goes into every corner of the house. But we're getting fiber optics, so I'm going to be able to upload a lot more.
Nice.
And then a nice little, feather in the cap was being on the cover of the Clarinet magazine.
Yes.
A decision that was made last year, actually, before the BLM movement and before a lot of this current climate came in. And it was just nice it was very, timely to have that come out in September. And I have a concerto commission coming in my hometown in Monterey, California.
Monterey, nice.
Yeah, with John Weinglass. Who's
incredible.
Cool. Yeah, who should check out. MU award-winning Black composer who is doing incredible work these days. And just recently, and then in these weeks, I'm at the Paris Conservatory as also judging.
Yes.
And that's been very interesting to see the high level of instrumentalists here, just mind-blowing concentration, because also the conservatory education starts at 4 years old here.
Yeah.
These kids can start, and by the time they're 15, they're almost at professional level, and they start the conservatory. And so I'm listening to the doctoral candidates and postmaster's candidates, and it's fascinating. Yeah. So that's a couple of things. I don't know what else I can.
I think you've got a full plate.
But amongst that, I'm always like, oh, I need to commission more clarinet quintets, and I need, the commissioning thing is always a big, it's a hunger, because
after listen, well, yeah, no, that's great that you have a voracious appetite for just moving the art forward in all of its forms. And I was thinking to myself, does she even sleep? I doubt it. And no, but my last question for you here, Mariam, and once again, thank you so much for agreeing to have this conversation. It's just brought so many positive vibes coming through the internet's world right now. What have you missed the most during this time of pandemic, in terms of quarantining and social distancing, physical distancing? What one thing, or if there is one thing, have you missed the most?
People.
Yeah.
And it's the performing with people. I'm somebody who's always been, even with Imani wins, I'm the people person. I love the contact. I love meeting people. I love the interaction. But then also when you're playing with people, that chemistry and that rebounding of energy is everything. And all these projects, I did all these recordings, projects online by Zoom, and it's so sterile. It's just not a replacement at all. And that to think of how music is being executed now with screens and plastic in between you and putting on a mask in between, and it's criminal.
Yeah.
Exactly why we have to do it. I know that we're going to get out of this, and we will be looking back on this very soon. Years pass, and they pass, especially at our age. I'm trying to already see beyond this, but yeah, I miss seeing people interacting, and the festivals that I do every year, also seeing those people. Those are important. They're gestation times, and they're important, for the soul, but also artistically. I think everybody always nourishes themselves from, regular festivals that they do, visiting festivals, new collaborations.
Yeah.
Everyone's suffering a little bit from that.
Totally. Well, you know what, though? It seems like you, not surprisingly, have turned this time period into an incredibly productive time period in making positive impact. So kudos to you for that, because a lot of folks could have gone kind of the other way and gone introverted and whatnot. And understandably, in terms of trying to deal with all the stress and whatnot. But you have absolutely turned this time into something that is really making a positive impact on the world, and not just the music world, but the world in general. So, Mariam, all the best to you and your family. In Paris, I hope you have a wonderful French meal this evening.
This might.
Okay, with some.
I don't eat for another 4 hours, so you know.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. Well,
it's wonderful to see you, Derek, and congratulations on all the work you're doing with the Lead Center. Also, that is part of the change. So thank you.
Well, we are trying. We are trying. So once this pandemic is over, we're going to have to figure out a way to get you back to Kansas.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a couple reasons, you know, with Stephanie, your collaboration, and then with the Lead Center. That'd be awesome. It'd be really
absolutely
fun. All right, Mariam, have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.